Hey everybody, Holy Joe Rock and Roll here with a movie review of two films, kind of similar in that they're about scientific or engineering geniuses. One of them is The Imitation Game, about Alan Turin, who was a British engineer who supposedly cracked the Enigma code during World War II. And the second movie is The Theory of Everything, the story about Stephen Hawking and his life and his discoveries or his theories on the Big Bang and the universe. And
welcome to the show, everyone. Remember, it's not just rock and roll, it's Holy Joe Rock and Roll. Let's get this show started.
So let's start with The Imitation Game, again about Alan Turing, who is credited by some as building this Turing machine, which is a predecessor of digital computers, which we now are in common use. Couple things that bothered me about this movie. The first thing is that there is only one line in the movie which mentions the Polish mathematicians or Polish anything who actually cracked the Enigma code back in 1939. So 2 full years before Alan Turing cracked the code with his machine. And there's only one line that says something like, he says his design is based upon the earlier work of some Polish mathematicians or engineers. So that's the first thing that kind of pisses me off, because the evidence shows that there were 3 Polish mathematicians who actually cracked the Enigma code in 1939, and they were reading 75% of the Nazi Enigma transmissions. And just before the war happened, they gave this information to the French and the British, so they had this information. It was highly classified information because nobody wanted the Nazis to know that they had cracked the code. So that's the first thing. The second thing about this movie, The Imitation Game, is you really feel Hollywood's gay agenda coming out and in your face. Alan Turing happened to be homosexual, all right? And at the end of the movie, you find out that he killed himself because he was caught being a homosexual, and it was a crime in it was a crime in England at that time, and he was sentenced for 2 years of hormone therapy, and after 1 year of hormone therapy, he killed himself. Now that's at the end of the movie. But the way the movie portrays him, it's bizarre in that, look, this was a troubled kid who was very smart from the very beginning, at least the way they portray him. He was abused by a lot of his peers because he was smart, because he was different. And there was somehow, I don't know if it was a dramatization of his sort of attraction to one particular child in his school who befriended him. And as a result, or whatever, he decided that he was homosexual. I don't know. They don't go into it, but the implication is this guy was different. Because he was different, he thought different, and because he was gay, he was smart. Kind of a weird kind of twist of things. That's the way it kind of is portrayed in your face, when really it should have been kind of an after the fact thing. The guy was smart and he happened to be gay. I'm just saying, he wasn't smart because he was gay. Okay, let's be frank about that, right? Because he in the end killed himself. What can I tell you? That's the story. It's definitely worth seeing if you're interested in technology, mathematics, or engineering. It's definitely an interesting movie to see, at least the dramatization of this man's life and his creation, and the trouble that he went through during World War II and dealing with the bureaucracies and all that stuff. I wouldn't really call it a date flick unless you're gay. Maybe you'd be interested in a date flick if you were gay. I'm just saying. It's not really, the romance is really kind of a nasty one, because he proposes to a woman on the team. Again, I don't know if this is a dramatization or not. And that whole relationship goes sour. So what can I say? That's The Imitation Game. Now let's move to The Theory of Everything, the story of Stephen Hawking. Okay, another English or British scientist, or whatever you want to call it. His PhD thesis was based on the idea that, what is a black hole? Black hole is when a sun collapses in on itself, creating a highly dense gravitational field, a point in space basically called a singularity, a single point in space-time, right? So Stefan's, and this is what's cool about astrophysics, is that it's pretty easy to explain in lay terms. Obviously, coming up with mathematical equations to prove it, it's another thing. But Stephen Hawking, in his PhD thesis, speculates that, or proposes that, we believe that the universe is expanding. So if you rewind the clock backwards, the universe would contract into a singularity, into a black hole, which then exploded, proving, or at least giving credit to the Big Bang Theory, right? Which was proof of God, Big Bang, or let's say coincides with the biblical description of let there be light, and there was light, and God created the universe. However, he realizes that a black hole, which doesn't allow anything to leave, supposedly, because the gravitational pull is so strong, not even light can get out, is actually incorrect, because there's so much pressure, there's so much heat, that heat would radiate out. And using the laws of thermodynamics, the heat leaving would mean mass would leak out. So the black hole would actually lose mass and dissolve or disintegrate into nothing. So from nothing comes nothing, meaning no God, right? So his newer theory was that the universe has always been here. There is no God, and that's just it. There is no evidence of a Big Bang, or there is no evidence of this rewinding the clock back, because if you had a single point, it would dissolve. There was no Big Bang. Okay, so that's sort of the second part. And then of course, Stephen Hawking, he suffered from Lou Gehrig's disease, which is a very debilitating muscular disease where you lose control of voluntary muscles. Now, what's important about that is the male member is not a voluntary muscle. It's not a voluntary muscle. It is an automatic muscle. So even though Stephen Hawking had Lou Gehrig's disease and couldn't walk, he was crippled, he was able to make 3 babies, right? So that's, if there's any positive kind of funny thing about it, not funny, but maybe a little bit humorous, is that he was able to have 3 children. Probably could have had more, because that thing still works, okay? Because it's not about voluntary, it's involuntary, which there's a joke about that in the movie, right? It explains men and male behavior. It's involuntary, all right? There's a whole romance thing in this thing about his wife. Stephen Hawking's girlfriend loves him, and even though she knows that he has Lou Gehrig's disease, she wants to marry him. Supposedly he only has 2 years to live. She still marries this man, and you see that the passion that she must have for this man, the respect, the love, both ways really, is because this guy's crippled up. I mean, really within a few years, the guy is in a wheelchair, he's crippled, he can't walk, he can barely talk. So think about that, and he didn't die in 2 years. I mean, the guy's 71 years old now, so 50 years later, he's still alive. So it's really an amazing story about this woman's commitment to him. Of course, towards the end of the movie, you see that relationship changes. They actually do get divorced. They don't show that, but you know it's what happened. They're separated or divorced, whatever. But they're still friends. So definitely, The Theory of Everything is actually a very good date flick, because you see this relationship and you see the commitment that people can have to each other. So I really enjoyed The Theory of Everything. It starts out really slow. It starts out boring as all hell. I'll be honest with you. But stay with it. Stay with The Theory of Everything. Stay with it, and it picks up. Okay? So both of these movies, in conclusion, are really good if you're interested in any kind of engineering or science or mathematics, or you're interested in astrophysics or the Big Bang or whatever. Definitely more so for The Theory of Everything. But the Imitation Game, really, both of these are really good movies to see if you're an engineer, or if you're interested in engineering, or you're just curious about technology and whatnot. As I said, The Theory of Everything is more of a date flick than The Imitation Game. And what else? that's it. They're both good movies. I give them both thumbs up. Both recommended that you see them for those reasons. So I'm Holy Joe Rock and Roll. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you get to see these movies. I'd love to hear your comments. What did you think about the movies? How did you react to Alan Turin and the whole description of how they described him? Did you feel that Hollywood pushing his gay agenda in that movie? I'd love to hear from you, because that's how I felt. It was almost like it was in your face. And anyways, love to hear from you. Please rate, subscribe, and also hashtag HJRR in your comments, and you will be entered automatically into a drawing for free prizes when we reach 100,000 views and or 300 subscribers. Both events will trigger an event where we will give out prizes to those who have left a comment, subscribed, and put a hashtag HJRR. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. Peace out. And hey, save me a seat in the theater, all right? Till next time.